Good morning, I'm Ms. Deline, and I'm here with my almost daily oracle card. I'm working in the deck of the Sacred Path deck from Jamie Sams right now, and today's card is Storyteller Expansion. The attributes of this card are increasing borders, opening growth of self, finding new interests, commanding more sacred space, reaching for new experience, stretching beyond former capacity for living, integrating new horizons. The challenges are contracting, fearing new experience, expanding too fast without learning the steps, losing control, needing to control your own growth, wanting authority instead of growth. If the Storyteller card has appeared in your spread today, you're being asked to listen to the words of others and apply their experiences to your life in order to expand your experience. The wisdom of knowing that crooked trails lead others astray and that happy trails bring enrichment can save you time when making your own decision. An expanded viewpoint can give you many new alternatives and options to enhance your growth potential. The wise listener does not need to fall from horse in order to understand that the ground is hard. The fall from authority can be hard and can hurt. Expanding beyond the point of present understanding can create a fall that reminds the one falling that expansion without knowing is futile. The Storyteller card also asks you to share your hard-learned lessons and experiences with others if you see them walking a crooked trail or making a decision that will cause them pain. The idea is to share what happened to you rather than point a finger at their decision. Then allow them to discern what is right for them in their own way. Only Great Mystery knows why a crooked path could be of benefit to a person. You can only provide alternatives for others through sharing what you experienced in similar situations, allowing each person to make the decisions that will be right for her or him is one way to ensure growth. In all cases, the Storyteller card is asking us to keep the love of life alive, whether through recounting stories that allow others a basis for introspection, or through bringing news of another's victories. The storyteller inside of you can bring the excitement of being alive to any situation. Each of us is a bridge to new understanding. We can remind friends of happy memories when they're feeling down. We can share an exciting idea and give birth to creativity. We can speak from our hearts and show others our appreciation. We can spin a tale that brings new insight and purpose to those who have forgotten how to weave their dreams. In every instance, the caring and sharing of Storyteller is one way to remind ourselves and others that the future lives in us now. We can expand our experience, our circle of friends, our sense of self, our knowing, our talents, our ability to love, our roles in life, our ability to respond, our sphere of influence, our blessings in every act of living through listening and applying the truth. This expansion can come in unlimited ways when we open ourselves to it. When we choose to resist the growth that comes our way, we do not hold the space we have, we contract. This contraction comes from the resistance we allow in our sacred spaces. The resistant magnetizes doubts and fears and brings those shadows into our personal medicine wheels. The result is usually painful growth into the next phase of life. We continue to grow, but we fight it every inch of the way. We refuse to listen to the expansive self who is being our teacher and who tells the story of our passage. The Storyteller card always asks us to stretch beyond our former capacity and to be the creators of our own medicine stories. Each experience told and retold will assist another in applying it to his or her life. The need to control the story as we are walking it stops the natural expansion process. There can be no stretching or adventure when we know exactly what to expect at every turn. The beauty of surprise endings is left in the mud of sticky control issues when we project how we are going to grow, at what rate, with whom, and under which circumstances. The adventure of surprising expansion is the gift. The question is whether we are willing to walk through every step of learning in order to earn the right to command the new expanded space we are growing into. So, Storyteller reminds me of, it says, it begins talking about listening to other people's stories, learning from their stories. And an example I'd like to share with you is when I had children. I didn't have a good parenting model. My parents were both very abusive and in different ways. And so, what I knew is that I didn't want to raise my kids the way I had been raised, right? But yet I didn't know how to be a parent because that was the only example that I had. So I started paying attention to other people. I started listening, asking questions, and listening to their parenting stories. I read about being a parent. I did so many things and listened to other people's stories and the stories of people who were raised by good parents, and then I made up a new story. And I wasn't the perfect parent, but I never abused my children. And so that's one example of listening to other people's stories. I would much rather learn through someone else's story than experience it myself. Wouldn't we all? I mean, if it's a bad thing or a hard thing, difficult experience. Unfortunately, that is not always an option. So sometimes we do have hard stories, and in sharing them, we help other people. So what I went through, for instance, my story of my childhood, what I went through can help other people. And because they can see me now, and that I'm happy, and I'm healthy, and I've gotten past, I've learned how to let my past stay in the past, and I can help other people through my stories. I also love to tell stories about adventures that I've been on. For instance, my memoir that I'm writing about living on the Apache Reservation when I was a teenager. I love sharing those kind of stories. My travel stories. When I tell stories, my intention is to share my knowledge, but also in doing that, and this applies to my writing also, I want to educate, inform, and inspire people. I want to inspire people to live their lives to the fullest, to create their own stories and to tell their stories. So that brings me to, early in this deck, I drew the talking stick, and how when you're in a circle, if you pass that talking stick, everyone gets a chance to speak, because some people are so shy, and I used to be like that. I was so shy that I could not speak up in front of other people. I couldn't have told my story in a circle of people to save my life. So what happens is when you pass that talking stick, or an item, it doesn't have to be a stick, but an item, or even just have the intent to go from person to person around the circle, giving each person a chance to speak, then even when you're shy, you have an opportunity to speak or to pass. So I remember when I was first in a circle, I would pass, But it didn't take long before I felt, when you get to know people, you start to feel a comfort zone. And then I was able to start talking. And then, as time passed, I began to lead these kind of circles. And so it's important to give those who are quiet. Some people know the value of listening and hearing other people's stories, and they forget the value of their own stories. And so those quiet people, give them an opportunity to speak. And this is a way of doing that. I have had people who, and not just adults, but children too, who were way too shy to speak up, or just quiet and didn't feel like they had anything of value. They weren't shy, they just didn't feel like they had anything of value to say. And once they get that comfort zone and learn to speak out, I don't care if it's a circle in Cub Scouts, sharing their weekend adventures, or a circle of divinely feminine women, and everything in between, right? Some of the stories that come out of these quiet people's mouths are jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring things that I end up just feeling so honored that they shared. So we all have stories. We all have stories, and our stories are important. They're important to us. They are us. They are the story of us. And they're also important to our loved ones and to our friends, and sometimes to the world. When you look at some of these famous people, it's their stories that people want to hear. Their stories, and it's their stories and their willingness to share themselves with other people that takes them where they need to go in the world. And it's the same with all of us. So remember, your story has value. You have value, and telling your story might help someone else. Telling your story might inspire someone else. And so please tell your stories. It's important to the world to express. It's an expression of who you are. And when and if you choose to do that, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love hearing your stories.